Welcome to a series called The End of Times, where we're going through the book of Revelation, verse by verse, to see what it is we can expect to happen. And we've reached that place in this book where 190 some odd episodes in, and we've reached really that at the end, where heaven and earth have been decreated and made void, and the new heaven and the new Jerusalem is appearing, and what John sees is incredible. And so we're just picking apart the detail on what it is he sees. Every piece of it is important. Just like this entire book, we can't just blast through things. So we're on the 12 foundations, and we're talking about them each one at a time, and we've reached that 8th foundation. It's a very important one. So we're just going to pick it up where we left off, Revelation 21, starting verse 19. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, and the fourth emerald. The fifth sardonyx, and the sixth sardius, and the seventh chrysolite, and the 8th beryl. Now we're going to kind of focus on beryl because chrysolite and beryl, the 7th and the 8th, a lot of times the Bible will put them in the same spot, depending on the interpreter. You'll see these because what we see is beryl is Tarsus and also catarsis. They'll put in, anytime you see those two words in the Old Testament, they'll put in beryl there, but sometimes in bitarsis, which is the chrysolite, they'll put it in there too. So you really have to be cautious of where beryl is if you're cross-referencing, making sure that it is actually beryl that they're talking about. And we've talked about this in other episodes. Oftentimes, if there's some sort of precious stone that the interpreter doesn't know what it is, they'll just throw in the word ruby. So as we look at these precious stones, we got to make sure that we're actually looking at that particular stone. Beryl is there's a definitive place in the Bible that we'll find this. 2 places. One, in Exodus, the breastplate that the high priest had to wear had beryl in it. But the other one is a particular place. It's in the book of Daniel, and we're going to go to Daniel 10, where he sees a messenger show up, and it's the description of this messenger that we'll find some deep secrets in. So we're going to go to Daniel 10, starting verse 4. Now on the 24th day of the first month, as I was by the side of the great river, that is the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked. Behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of Euphrates. His body was like beryl. His face was like the appearance of lightning. His eyes like torches of fire. His arms and feet like burnished bronze in color. And the sound of his words like the voice of the multitude. Now, this particular place in Daniel, what's taking place here is we're about to see the prophecy of all wars that take place over Israel up until the end times. It's really an incredible prophecy that's about to take place, but it is this messenger that shows up. His body was like beryl. And we've talked about how really a lot of heavenly hosts, they kind of glow, they illuminate certain colors. And beryl is a greenish color. And what we've seen is, even in the glory of God or other messengers, they're kind of glowing this greenish color, but it's a little bit different each time. Here what he is his body is like beryl. It's this polished green color, this yellowish green color. Now, the message that he brings is the message of redemption. It's the message of the end times, of showing, here you have this prophecy that's about to take place and it's coming true. And in my lifetime and everybody's lifetime before me and before you, we've just sat there and just heard this story. We've not actually seen this prophecy come true. So now someday we will stare at this prophecy coming true that this messenger talked about. I mean, the messenger brought the same message that there is in Revelation. It's the same message. It's the coming of a kingdom and what it looks like as that kingdom is advancing towards earth, as it is in heaven. And when you see these certain precious stones, you have to understand that this is a message of redemption, that what we're seeing is that it's almost like if somebody gave you a message and said, have hope, there's this thing that's going to happen. And then 2,500 to 3,000 years later, you're still waiting on that thing. But when it shows up, it's a reminder that this was told to you that this would happen. You knew this would happen. Sure, you waited a long time, and sure, you might have even doubted it was going to come, but it happened. It will surely come to pass, because if God says something is going to happen, it is going to happen. It is the promise of the messenger that we see in this eighth foundation. That promise that if the messenger comes and says, hey, God's going to do this thing, God's going to do that thing. Regardless of whether you wait 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, he's going to do that thing. And after he does that thing, it's just as if it was a blink of an eye. We waited a millisecond for that thing to happen. Even though it may have been 3,000 years, it's like the blink of an eye in eternity. So it's this promise from the messenger that you can rely on the message. It is good and true. It'll stand the test of time. It will come to pass. Regardless of whether you believe it or not, it will come to pass. And the foundation of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, and the eighth beryl. A reminder of the messenger. There was a message that this would happen, and now you're staring at the reality of it. The promise fulfilled. Hope these videos are helping. Stay with us. Any thoughts or insight on it, definitely put that below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. As always, love God, love your family, love guns.